Welcome back. Milwaukee's newly elected mayor will be sworn in Wednesday. Cavalier Johnson received some 72% of the vote Tuesday. He's the first African-American elected mayor of Milwaukee and the city's first new mayor in 18 years. Johnson is already promising a better relationship with Republican leaders in Madison.
We've got to address our crisis of gun violence and unsafe streets. We need to restore our neighborhoods. We need to create jobs and grow our city. And we also need to repair the broken relationship that we have with state government.
Mayor-elect Cavalier Johnson is here. Welcome back to Upfront and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Happy to be here.
So we want to start with that soundbite in mind. Now, after Tuesday's election, I know that you already reached out to Republican leadership. So who did you reach out to?
I reached out to Speaker Voss. We got a call into Senator LeMahieu. We've had some other conversations on social media with other Republican members as well. Also had the opportunity to speak with Representative Jesse Rodriguez as well. So we're making those inroads to build the relationship.
Did you hear back from Speaker Voss yet?
I did.
And what did you talk about?
He called me back a little later in the day. He congratulated me on the victory, and we talked about building the relationship. And he certainly wants to do that. I want to do that as well.
Did he seem optimistic, or what was the tone of that conversation?
Oh, yeah. He was totally upbeat and I think very interested in engaging anew with me as mayor and with the city of Milwaukee.
Did you set any future expectations in terms of meeting or anything on policy?
Yeah, after the swearing in that we'll have next week, he and I will try to find some time to get together.
And well, along those same lines, I want to bring up something Representative David Bowen said on Twitter. He gave you a congratulations and said that Milwaukee's essential path forward will be impacted by the state capitol, and Voss and Wisconsin GOP will no longer be able to blame their old nemesis, Tom Barrett. It is a new day. How much do you think former Mayor Barrett is to blame for this fractured relationship with Madison?
Look, these issues are about relationships, right? And there certainly had been a long relationship with the former mayor and with members of the legislature. Going back to especially not just his time in the legislature, but also his time running for governor. Twice in 2010, an open seat, but then in the recall election as well. And I think that's part of the reason that we saw this fracturing. And we just were never able to recover from that. But Representative Bowen is right. It's a new day in Milwaukee. Tom Barrett is gone, and now I'm here. I've extended the olive branch to work with the legislature, with state government generally. I've said I've got a great working relationship with Governor Tony Evers and support him, but also am a realist and also recognize that Republicans control the legislature, and we have to work with them if we're going to put Milwaukee on the path that it needs to be to move forward.
So State Senator Dale Kuinga, a Republican, has been an ally in finding a way to allow for a sales tax increase. But he also demanded a commitment that the city wouldn't cut police positions. Mayor Barrett wouldn't make that promise. Would you?
The dire that we have here is not whether or not we'll cut positions, whether or not we can fund positions. I think that Senator Kuinga also understands, the dire need that the city has in terms of our financial situation. So I'm interested in engaging with him on that. I want to have an adequate number of police in Milwaukee. I've talked about that throughout the course of the campaign. But it's also important to realize that police and firefighters in Wisconsin were not subject to Act 10. And they continue to get raises and increases in benefits and wages that other municipal employees don't get. And so that drives the cost up for those services. So it's fine to have, additional police officers or to maintain a certain number of officers. We have to be able to have the money to be able to sustain those officers as well. So I recognize that. I think Senator Kuinga recognizes that too. And so we'll need the additional support from the state in order to accomplish that.
Because I think it's easy to say I want to build relationships and we'll have a working relationship, but you're going to have to give on some of these things. I mean, is there anything that you already think, okay, I would submit to this for funding?
Yeah, again, Senator Kuinga said, hey, here's an opportunity to have some additional revenue, but we don't want you to cut law enforcement. I'm willing to not do that, but I have to have the money to pay for the additional law enforcement or the sustained law enforcement because the costs continue to go up. I mean, this all goes back to the conversations that we've been having in this community for the past nearly 20 years, where shared revenue just has not kept pace with inflation over time. We're receiving about the same amount of dollars that we received in 2003, 2004, even though the cost of services have gone up since. I'm interested in doing those things. I need to have the money to be able to pay for it and to do it in a responsible way.
Alex Lasry was at your event on Tuesday when you accepted. Are you backing him in the Senate race?
I had been upfront with my support of Alex way back when I was council president when he first announced.
So you're endorsing him?
I had endorsed him well into the past.
I just wasn't sure if anything would change because when you're talking about going across lines and then you have Republican Senator Ron Johnson also running, how does that say, hey, I'm willing to work with the other side?
Yeah, I think that all of us understand. I think, I have said this, Republican members have said this, like, just because we are willing to work together doesn't negate the fact that I'm a Democrat or they're Republicans. I've said, like, I want to have a working relationship with them, and they seem to want to have a working relationship with me too, and I take them at face value when they say that. But at the end of the day, though, when there's a political competition, I'm not expecting that they're going to necessarily cross over or that I necessarily will cross over. The politics is the politics, but when it's time to govern, then it's simply time to govern.
All right, Mayor-elect Cavalier Johnson, thank you.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Up next, the new UN report on climate change and the Wisconsin scientist on the front lines. I'll talk with him. That's next.